US President Donald Trump delivered a speech to a joint session of Congress on Tuesday, marking his first address since taking office. It was the longest ever address to a joint session of Congress by any US president, clocking in at more than 1 hour and 40 minutes.
America is back.
With these words, US President Donald Trump began his first address to a joint session of Congress after taking office. He didn't stop there. He vowed to plant the American flag on Mars.
We are going to conquer the vast frontiers of science, and we are going to lead humanity into space and plant the American flag on the planet Mars and even far beyond.
Much like his 2024 campaign, Trump used Tuesday's speech to talk about securing the US-Mexico border and the executive orders he issued, including deploying military members to the area.
I declared a national emergency on our southern border, and I deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion of our country. And what a job they've done. As a result, illegal border crossings last month were by far the lowest ever recorded, ever.
He even extended the offer of joining the U.S. to the citizens of Greenland and said, one way or the other, we're going to get it. As time and again, he promised to take over Greenland and the Panama Canal.
Great job. And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security.
Trump also announced his plans to implement reciprocal tariffs in the near future on several countries. The US will raise its tariff rate for goods from another country to whatever that country's levies on US products from April 2nd. Appreciating Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, Trump said he received a letter from Zelenskyy agreeing to come to the negotiating table to strike a peace deal in Ukraine.
I received an important letter from President Zelenskyy of Ukraine. The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time that is convenient for you.
In all, US President Donald Trump's address to Congress was a characteristic blend of triumphalism, policy pronouncements, and cultural warfare. Bureau Report, DD India.
And reacting to President Trump's address to Congress, Democrats warned of rising costs and chaos. In a rebuttal, Democratic Senator Elissa Slotkin calls for a solution to the U.S.'s broken immigration system, accuses Trump of cozying up to dictators.
But securing the border without actually fixing our broken immigration system is dealing with the symptom and not the disease. America is a nation of immigrants. We need a functional system keyed to the needs of our economy that allows vetted people to come and work here legally. So I look forward to the president's plan on that. Because here's the thing, today's world is deeply interconnected. Migration, cyber threats, AI, environmental destruction, terrorism. One nation cannot face these issues alone. We need friends in all corners, and our safety depends on it.
Slotkin urged U.S. citizens to not tune out and stay engaged in politics.
Don't tune out. It's easy to be exhausted, but America needs you now more than ever. If previous generations had not fought for this democracy, where would we be today? Second, hold your elected officials, including me, accountable. Watch how they're voting. Go to town halls and demand they take action. That's as American as apple pie. Third, organize. Pick just one issue you're passionate about and engage. And doom scrolling doesn't count. Join a group that cares about your issue and act. And if you can't find one, start one. Some of the most important movements in our history have come from the bottom up.
All right, and joining me on the broadcast today is Professor Gulshan Sachdeva, School of International Studies, JNU. Professor Sachdeva, thank you so much for joining in on the broadcast, first of all. A very good afternoon to you. In longest ever Congress speech, Trump spoke at length about various things, touched upon different topics, saying America is back and that the golden age of America has only just begun. What's your analysis of his speech?
Well, there are basically, I would say it's the longest ever speech, as you have mentioned. I mean, he talked many things. But I think there were three major issues in which one has to, focus. There are one kind of issues which are for the domestic audience, for the domestic policies, which are, how he's reducing wasteful expenditure, how he's eliminating all these diversity measures and many other things, what he thinks he's doing for the American economy, and also stopping migration, etc. Now, the second set of issues, which perhaps the others are more interested, outsiders, are, these are about, one is about tariff issues. Because again, he has mentioned that the system, the global trading system, has not been very fair to the United States, and he said it was never fair to the United States. So he is going to fix it, and already, President Trump has announced tariff against China, Mexico, Canada, and then he said from 2nd of April. All those countries, including India and the European Union, he mentioned that all of them, it will be reciprocal tariffs. And the third set of issues are about, which again the outside world is more interested, is about Ukraine, what he's going to do. The last week we had very serious the tensions between President Zelenskyy and the meeting which took place in the Oval House. But now, before his speech, he read out that letter, actually some parts of that letter, which President Zelenskyy has sent to him, where he is actually praising President Trump. He's saying that Ukraine is willing to work under the strong leadership of the United States and also willing to sign the mineral deal. Means already behind the scene, I think a lot of things have been worked out with Ukraine, and maybe they are on track to again, sign certain things, how to resolve this conflict, because he has made it a major issue for him. And during campaign, he said that he's going to resolve it the very first day. Obviously, I mean, these kind of things can't happen in a day, but I think this is what he wants to show to the world, that he is the only one who can resolve this conflict. As a result of this, there has been a serious tension between him and the European
But Professor Sachdeva, what do you personally think?
Well, I think, there's, the way I think the Zelenskyy has written a letter to him, it means, there has been a lot of pressure on him, because there is also pressure on him to either you move out and let me work out this deal, because obviously Ukrainians understand that without US support, without US military and financial support, it's very difficult for them to survive. It's difficult to many. Even the Europeans have kind of rallied behind him. But the only with the European support, they have given him a moral support. I mean, they had 2 meetings in London. And they have also announced more, aid for Ukraine. But, the Europeans also understand that that's not enough, because ultimately, you have to find the solution either through the way now he's talking, or otherwise you have to really fight it out. Now, obviously now it's quite clear that the America has changed. The mood is very different. They have already stopped military aid to Ukraine. So without that, they can't really fight. European capacities are limited. They have decided to, today itself, the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, has announced rearm Europe, a new plan of 800 billion euros. But those things will take time. And still, I'm not sure how it's going to work. They have to build a consensus, and there is still no consensus within the European Union, because some of the countries like Hungary and others, they are saying what exactly Trump is saying. The Prime Minister Meloni and others, they are saying that we have to work out certain things with the United States. Without that, it's difficult. So there is certain pressure. They are anyway now, they are uncertain about the American and even the future of NATO itself. So they're talking many things in Europe. how President Macron has been talking for many, many years about strategic autonomy of Europe. But still, they know it's very difficult for them at this point of time. So I think behind the scene, a lot of things have happened seen in the last few days. There's also pressure on the Europeans to come to the table. Of course, there were sidelined earlier during the talks. Even the Ukraine was not invited. But it seems something is working. That's why he has written this letter. There's a lot of pressure on the. But another thing is that if Ukrainian president agrees to sign this mineral deal as well as also some kind of deal to resolve this issue, then obviously the Europeans can't really object much to that, because ultimately this is the Ukrainians to decide that what they have. In fact, interestingly, now they have been talking about peace now. Many of the Europeans, and in fact, in the London summit, the 5 or 6 points which they have mentioned how to resolve this issue, they are not talking about territorial integrity of Ukraine. It means they have also realized that Ukraine may not get, pre-2014 territory back, but how to negotiate certain things are definitely working behind the scene.
Okay, very quickly, do you see this conflict ending as soon as the critical minerals deal will be signed?
Well, I think there is hope now that we are moving in that direction.
Okay.
So the critical mineral deal, in fact, the way United States is selling to Ukraine is because the thing is that even if Ukraine makes some compromise, but what Ukraine and the Europeans are saying that what is the guarantee that the President Putin will not do it again? So they want certain kind of security guarantees from the United States.
Okay.
Now, United States, so far, they have not agreed to give. So, okay, the European want this, European can give this security guarantee, they can send their forces. The Europeans, obviously, they can put up some money, but, sending some of them have started saying, particularly, from Ireland, from UK and some other countries, but still that's not enough. They want backstack. They want also certain support from the United States, particularly air support and many other intelligence and the support. It's so far, I think the Americans have not committed, but they have only said that, if Americans are working in those, industries, then obviously, you are protected, but that's not really the kind of security Ukraine would be looking. So I think they're looking on some kind of American engagement also, or some kind of support, but I think they might work it out.
Okay, all right. Professor Sachdeva, Trump also reiterated his desire to take control of Greenland, and also claimed that the US had begun to reclaim the Panama Canal. How do you react to that?
Well, I think these are very interesting things because, and particularly for Europeans from Denmark and others, these are independent territory. In one way, you are saying that, countries are sovereign and independent when we are talking about Ukraine. But here, there are countries, there are territories which are independent, and then America has openly saying that for international security, we need those. And he's appealing to the citizens of Greenland that, we are most welcome to join the United States. So these are the things which are really worrying Europeans particularly, because they can't really openly, this is a whole transatlantic alliance based on certain principles. And now they are seeing that, this is something is just unraveling. And they do not have capacity at the moment to retaliate because they have realized that the future of this is not very, very certain now. So they have started working on this now. I think it's very seriously. But obviously, overnight, they can't build their defense capabilities because which they have. At the same time, it's not just only building those defense capabilities. In principle, they have agreed to raise their defense spending. But once you raise defense spending, etc., then you hold your economic model, the kind of welfare model in Europe, what they have built so far, so that also may not be sustainable because you also need resources to maintain that model. Because if you divert all your resources to a defense, spending, then your own living conditions and the welfare model, or the benefits, what all the citizens of Europe are enjoying, there are certain worries. So these are very interesting times, and let's see how they are going to react to many of these are very serious developments for Europe and for others as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Gulshan Sachdeva, for joining in on the broadcast once again. Really appreciate it. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is scrambling to repair relations with the US after a tense meeting with President Donald Trump. The Ukrainian leader has called the clash regrettable on his post on social media platform X, mentioning he wrote that the meeting in Washington at the White House on Friday did not go the way it was supposed to be. It is regrettable that it happened this way. Zelenskyy also expressed his willingness to sign a contentious minerals deal which would grant the US access to Ukrainian minerals in exchange for military aid. Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko has offered to host peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, suggesting that US officials could also be involved. His remarks were published in an interview on Wednesday. Lukashenko emphasized the need for negotiations, proposing Belarus as a neutral venue. He highlighted the proximity of Kiev to the Belarusian border, stressing that discussions could take place quickly and efficiently.
We need to negotiate. If you want, come here. It's not far. 200 kilometers from the Belarusian border to Kiev, maybe 500 kilometers, half an hour by plane. Come, we'll sit here. Calmly, without noise, without shouting, we'll reach an agreement. Therefore, tell Trump I'm waiting for him along with Putin and Zelenskyy. We'll sit down and calmly negotiate if you want to reach an agreement.
Whereas Czech Foreign Minister Jan Lipavsky said Europe must engage with the United States in security debates and help find a way to bring it closer to Ukraine after the halt of US military aid to Kiev.
We should help to mend this relationship. It's a critical relationship for Ukraine, also for Europe. It's give us clear guidance that we have to continue with building up European defense capabilities, European defense. We have to be ready to defend Europe. Also to continue and maybe increase support to Ukraine, but it doesn't mean that we should resign on this transatlantic relationship and on the relationship between Ukraine and the US. But how to do so, maybe that's something which should happen.
Meanwhile, British Foreign Minister David Lammy said he had spoken to counterparts in France, Germany, Poland, Italy and Spain about Ukraine and that their determination to strike a peace deal remained clear. In a post on X, he said, "We will step up and we are stepping up together." Still to come on DD India News Hour. Suicide bombing kills at least 12 in northwest Pakistan. Stay tuned for more details. German parties agree on historic debt overhaul to revamp military and economy. The Vatican reported that Pope Francis rested well overnight after suffering from 2 episodes of acute respiratory insufficiency.
This week on Defense Dynamics, the geopolitics in Europe is undergoing a major shift after the Trump-Zelenskyy clash. How will this affect the continent's security and alliances? As Europe rethinks its defense posture, India-EU relations take a center stage. What does this growing partnership mean for global security? Meanwhile, the Indian Air Force faces a critical fighter jet shortage. The Indian Air Force chief warns of a serious gap in squadron. How can India build up this deficiency? And in a bold move, Bharat Forge claims that it can handle India's artillery needs. Is the private sector ready to replace foreign imports like that the K9 Vajra? Tune in this Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Arab leaders have approved a $53 billion reconstruction plan for Gaza, rejecting US President Donald Trump's proposal to relocate Gazans and take control of the enclave. The plan, led by Egypt, aims to rebuild Gaza under Palestinian Authority administration while avoiding displacement. Here's more.
At an Arab League summit in Egypt, leaders endorsed an Egyptian-led plan to rebuild Gaza at a cost of $53 billion. The initiative is seen as an alternative to Donald Trump's widely criticized Middle East Riviera plan, which proposed relocating Gazans.
بالتعاون مع الأشقاء في فلسطين.
As the Arab foreign minister's endorsement of the Gaza Reconstruction and Development Plan and the adoption of the draft of the final statement, I now call upon to adopt the Gaza Reconstruction and Development Plan and the draft of the final statement. It has been endorsed.
The Egyptian president on Tuesday urged Arab leaders to adopt the proposal, emphasizing a Palestinian-led approach to governance in Gaza.
Egypt, in cooperation with its brothers in Palestine, worked to form an administrative committee of independent Palestinian professionals and technocrats entrusted with managing the Gaza Strip based on the expertise of its members.
Egypt's foreign minister also announced plans to seek Islamic nation support for the Gaza reconstruction effort at an emergency OIC summit in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia.
On the 7th of March in Jeddah, there will be an emergency meeting of the foreign ministers of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, and we will seek to endorse this plan so that it becomes both an Arab plan and an Islamic plan.
The Arab Summit's final declaration confirmed the creation of an international trust fund to finance Gaza's rebuilding and manage pledged funds.
This first phase of reconstructions includes establishing 200,000 permanent houses for those who are living in temporary areas and transferring them to permanent living areas.
Arab leaders also agreed on a 6-month interim governance committee to prepare for the Palestinian Authority's return to Gaza.
There will be no security or stability for Israel or the region without a political solution that fulfills the aspirations of Palestinian people. The Palestinian people have the right to establish their independent state on all their territory.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres backed the Arab-led reconstruction plan and called for an immediate resumption of the ceasefire negotiations.
I welcome and strongly endorse the Arab-led initiative to mobilize support for Gaza's reconstruction, clearly expressed in this summit.
Following the summit, Israel's foreign ministry dismissed the plan, saying it failed to address the realities following Hamas's October 7 attack. On the other hand, Hamas called the summit a step forward, urging Arab nations to provide the necessary resources for the plan's success. Bureau Report, DD India.
Leaders of Germany's conservatives and social democrats, who are in negotiations to form a coalition after a national election last month, announced proposals on Tuesday to set up a €500 billion fund for infrastructure and defense spending. Addressing a press conference, leader of the Christian Democratic Union, Friedrich Merz, said that both parties would submit a motion to the Bundestag lower house of parliament next week to amend their constitution. The motion aims that defense expenditure above 1% of economic output is exempted from the debt brake. The move comes after US President Donald Trump has frozen military aid to Ukraine after a clash with its President Volodymyr Zelenskyy last week.
That is why we want to set up a credit-financed emergency program, a special fund of €500 billion for the next 10 years, from which these necessary investments will be made. We assume that this special fund will also trigger private investment on a large scale.
In Serbia, opposition lawmakers in Serbia threw smoke grenades and tear gas inside the parliament protesting against the government. Outside the building, some others were holding protest with a banner reading "Corruption kills," referring to the death of 15 people due to railway station roof collapse, sparking protests. The move aimed to display support for students who have been demonstrating since 4 months. The demonstrations have converted into a threat for President Alexander Vucic's decade-long rule, marred by corruption and incompetence. Now, In northwestern Pakistan, a suicide bombing tore through a security installation on Tuesday, killing at least 12 civilians and injuring dozens. The suicide bombers hit the wall of Bannu cantonment, about 200 kilometers southwest of Peshawar in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Many of the injured, minors included, were taken into a hospital in Bannu. Police officials said the blast was likely caused by a vehicle laden with explosives, adding that the figures did not include any security force casualties. A group of affiliated with the Pakistani Taliban claimed responsibility for the attack in Bannu. Ali Amin Gandapur, the chief minister for Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, condemned the incident and said he had sought a report from senior police officials on the blast. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif denounced cowardly terrorists who target innocent civilians during the holy month of Ramadan and deserve no mercy. Pakistan President Asif Ali Zardari condemned the attack in a statement as heinous, saying that the entire nation rejects such despicable acts. Let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Catholics in the Philippines prayed for Pope Francis on Ash Wednesday. Earlier this week, Pope suffered from 2 episodes of acute respiratory insufficiency and was put on ventilator to help him breathe mechanically. A massive fire broke out in Peru's capital, engulfing houses while prompting immediate evacuation of residents. So far, the exact cause of the fire is not known yet. Residents blame unauthorized construction without proper license and inspection. Families and relatives of passenger on board Malaysian Airlines flight MH370 remembered their loved ones on the 11th anniversary of the plane's disappearance. More than 10 years after the fateful incident, Malaysia agreed to resume searching for the wreckage in 2024. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi participates in a post-budget webinar on employment via video conferencing. India's External Affairs Minister is in UK, where he also met top ministers of UK government. Stay tuned for more details.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and a quick recap of headlines. US President Trump addresses joint session of Congress at Capitol Hill, hails America First policies, says Golden Age of America has only just begun. US President Donald Trump welcomes Ukraine's willingness to negotiate and sign minerals deal. Arab leaders endorse a $53 billion Gaza reconstruction plan, reject US President Donald Trump's proposal to take over the enclave. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday participated in the post-budget webinar on employment via video conferencing. While addressing the gathering on the occasion, PM Modi said the government has provided skill training to more than 3 crore youth since 2014.
जन भागीदारी का ये मॉडल बहुत रेयर होता है और मुझे खुशी है कि लगातार प्रतिवर्ष इस एक मंथन के कार्यक्रम को बल भी मिल रहा है, उत्साह से लोग भी जुड़ रहे हैं और हर एक को लगता है कि बजट के पूर्व जितनी बातें हम करते हैं उससे ज्यादा महत्वपूर्ण बातें बजट के बाद इंप्लीमेंटेशन में उपयोगी होती है.
The Princess Astrid of Belgium, who is on a 3-day tour to India's financial capital Mumbai, visited wrote mobile headquarters on Wednesday. She was accompanied by a distinguished Belgian delegation, reinforcing the Indo-Belgian collaboration in technology and innovation. The Belgian Economic Mission delegation made presentations by Belgian startups on space and drone tech. A panel discussion on strengthening Indo-Belgian economic ties through technology was also held. Matthias Dipendala, the Minister-President of Flanders, addressed the media and said that there are many sectors of potential collaboration, including universities, semiconductor, skilled workforce between the two countries.
For some things, some challenges that the Indian people have, we have the solutions. For some challenges we have, India has the solutions. We have a problem with energy supply, and especially with green energy, with clean energy. And for those things, we are looking for hydrogen supplies from India. Universities, education. Flanders has 2 of the top 100 and 1 at least in the top 50 universities of the world. It's KU Leuven and the University of Ghent. We have 3 others, all very small, modest, but they are very highly qualified. So maybe that's also something that the Indian students can rely on.
India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar is visiting UK, where he met top ministers of the government. Minister Jaishankar called on Prime Minister Keir Starmer at 10 Downing Street and conveyed warm greetings of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The two leaders discussed taking forward bilateral economic cooperation and enhancing people-to-people exchanges. PM Starmer also shared UK's perspective on the Ukraine conflict. Minister Jaishankar also met Foreign Secretary David Lammy. He thanked Lammy for extending extremely warm welcome to him at the Chevening House. While later, along with Foreign Secretary Lammy, Jaishankar met Chevening scholars from India. The Indian minister termed the group as a vivid expression of two countries' talent and people-to-people exchanges, saying they surely are great advocates of India-UK ties. Solid waste management was the key to the successful management of Mahakumbh, recently concluded in Prayagraj. Sanitation workers, along with technology, played an important role in this. A team of 10 experts is preparing a report on solid waste management. The preliminary findings of this report were discussed at the ongoing international conference on 3R economy in Jaipur. DD India correspondent Vishal Baristo had a conversation with Amit Kapoor, member of the expert team.
We recently saw how India organized the Mahakumbh successfully, but how it was done and how the solid waste was managed. I have with me to talk more about that, Mr. Amit Kapoor. Let's talk about the preliminary findings.
In terms of the whole process, if you really look at it, there was a massive scale of operation that had to be created. We were expecting, or the government was expecting, minimum of 20 crore people, and it could go up to about 100 crore people that would come for the festival. So when you talk about that number and you're not sure as to what is the number, you have to create a infrastructure which is able to take that load. So the initial thing was that the government created that basic infrastructure of 150,000 toilets, which could be used by people who were thronging into the festival. And once that whole basic infrastructure was created, you had to create a process for disposal of waste and cleanliness of the whole festival.
And reuse as well.
Yeah, of course, and reuse as well. So that whole process was taken care of. So when you were really looking at or mapping the process, if there was a toilet which was getting used, after every 20 to 25 minutes, the toilets were getting cleaned. So there was a very specific number or a targeted number that was given to Swachhta Karamchari that he will have to clean. So that was being managed to as clockwork. Even if there was something being thrown on the street, that was also getting cleaned. So there was a very complete process that was being managed. The number of Swachhta workers were amazing. So in fact, I actually said in my talk as well that the real heroes of this festival were Swachhta workers.
When are you expected to produce this report, and how many people were involved in this finding?
Oh, so we were a team of 10 people. In fact, we were staying there at the Kumbh. I myself stayed there for about 30 days. My team has been there for about 50 days at the Mahakumbh. We were a team of 10 people who have been there. And we are expecting to finish this work, all our analysis by middle of May, and release the report.
The preliminary report is quite satisfying and for us all to be very proud of. With cameraman Gaurav Giri in Jaipur, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
Spiritual leader and founder of Art of Living, Sri Ravi Shankar, shared his insights on the miraculous return of the Somnath Shivling. The spiritual guru revealed that the Shivling, a sacred relic from the Somnath Jyotirling, possesses distinct properties that identify it as an authentic artifact. The piece of Jyotirling was hidden for generations, which was rediscovered and is being consecrated once again. The revival of the Jyotirling marks a sacred tale of preservation and devotion of India's Sanatan Dharma, and Gurudev has been chosen to facilitate the consecration. The Shivling will embark on a journey to all 12 Jyotirlings, offering devotees a chance to seek blessings. A purification ritual, Kalakarshan, will be performed according to Shaiva Agam traditions before the final consecration.
1000 साल बाद हमारा सर्वप्रथम ज्योतिर्लिंग सोमनाथ जी के जो अंश को सब लोग देख रहे हैं, बहुत खुशी की बात है। इससे ये साबित होता है कोई मिटा ही नहीं सकता। शिव जी की जो इतने खंडर होने के बाद भी उनको आप देखिए वो शाश्वत मूर्ति, ये ऐसे मैग्नेट कैसे इसमें हो सकता है? ये देखिए था कि इसका मैग्नेट एंड में नहीं है, बीच में है। यूजुअली मैग्नेट बाहर ऐसे जाता है, ये बीच में, बीचों बीच है। बोलते ऐसी जो वस्तु, ऐसी जो शिला हमारी पृथ्वी में कहीं भी नहीं है।
India is witnessing a new wave of entrepreneurship driven by young women who are redefining traditional industries with innovation and passion. From sustainable fashion to technology-driven solutions, these entrepreneurs are not only creating successful businesses but also empowering communities and preserving cultural heritage. Their efforts are taking Indian craftsmanship and skills to a global stage, making a significant impact on the economy and society. Here's one such success story. Let's take a look.
From the narrow lanes of rural India to international markets, Huts and Looms has emerged as a beacon of empowerment. Jaya Saha, a corporate professional turned entrepreneur, saw the untapped potential of Indian handloom and decided to bridge the gap between artisans and consumers. What started with just 5 weavers has now grown into a community over 500 skilled artisans producing exquisite textiles that blend tradition with contemporary aesthetics.
Started with a small group of weavers. While working with them, we found out there were quite a number of challenges in the handloom sector, especially with the fair wages and equal opportunities for men and women, which we tried to sort out while we have grown to around 500 plus artisans across the country. We also believe that if we are working with the rural artisans and empowering them, we are taking India to the global platforms. We want to create a brand, a legacy where we can globally represent India. We believe in the vision of Make in India. We believe in the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat, because we believe if our roots are stronger, we are going to come out more stronger. We are going to grow more sustainably.
With a vision to take Indian handloom global, Huts and Looms is leveraging e-commerce and international collaborations to bring authentic, handcrafted fabrics to a worldwide audience. Weavers who once struggled for fair wages now have stable livelihoods. Through training programs and direct market access, young women entrepreneurs of India are not just reviving a craft but ensuring sustainability for generations to come. With a growing footprint in global markets, Huts and Looms is redefining the perception of Indian handlooms, making them a symbol of sustainable and ethical fashion. Kriti Varhera's report for DD India.
Let's take a look at other stories making news. Tanmay Lal, Secretary West, Ministry of External Affairs, met Foreign Affairs Committee members from Sweden's Sveriges Riksdag. Discussions on India's growth story, rapidly changing geopolitical context, deepening India-EU and India-Sweden partnerships took place. The Defence Bioengineering and Electromedical Laboratory under the Defence Research and Development Organization successfully conducted high-altitude trials of the indigenous on-board oxygen-generating systems-based integrated life support system for the LCA Tejas aircraft on Tuesday. A young entrepreneur from Assam's Dhubri has gained attention for producing organic fertilizers. Sahidur Rahman, who started a vermicompost production unit, has not only become self-reliant but also emerged as an inspiration for youths. Recognizing his efforts, he was provided financial support of INR 1 lakh under the Assam government's Atmanirbhar Assam initiative. The Brazilian Carnival is famous around the world for its samba music, but the Carnival of Sao Paulo has an Indian flavor too, called Bloco Bollywood. This street party showcased Indian music and dance as it celebrated the fusion of Indian and Brazilian cultures.
Created in 2016, this year the Street Carnival celebrated the Festival of Colors Holi with their specially chosen songs and dances.
Vida longo ao Carnival, vida longa a India, vida longa ao Brasil. Obrigado. It's mesmerizing, you know, it's so good. So vibrant, like, you know, we in India celebrate colors, so music and dance have one language across the world. Indian consulate has been associating with this block of Bollywood as to showcase India, its culture, and we have been doing it for some years now, and we'll continue to support it.
It is a free public event, but the biggest Indian show in South America is put together by professional dancers from India and Brazil, with MC Vijay Bavaskar, who keeps the crowd animated and engaged for more than 5 hours every year. Rock of Bollywood is now one of the biggest symbols of cultural ties between India and Brazil.
I'm really very happy. It's a real picture of friendship between India and Brazil. And another thing is, my mother belongs to Goa. So Carnival is a regular feature for us. And I was also Guardian Minister of Mumbai, Bollywood. That is, I feel that I'm back to Mumbai and could see how the people are enjoying the Indian music and dancing on it.
The drum players have created a mixture of samba and bhangra. This fusion is called sambra. The carnival goes on till Wednesday, with the Indian Festival of Colors being the talking point of the town this year.
Block of Bollywood this year is celebrating Festival of Colors Holi. And you can see here, hundreds of Indians and Brazilians have gathered on Rua Augusta, an iconic street in Sao Paulo, to join in this Indian festivities. This is Shovan Saxena for DD India from Sao Paulo in Brazil.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. New Zealand and South Africa battling out in the second semi-final in a bid to join India in the final of the ICC Champions Trophy 2025. LeBron James makes history in NBA, becomes first player to score 50,000 points.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me, at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. And China has unlocked additional fiscal stimulus to support consumption and shield its economy from the impact of an escalating trade war with the United States. The move comes as Beijing remains committed to achieving around 5% economic growth this year. The intensifying trade dispute with US President Donald Trump's administration is putting pressure on China's industrial sector, a key driver of its economy. At the same time, weak household demand and the ongoing property sector crisis are further exposing economic vulnerabilities. The EU warns that US tariffs on Canada and Mexico threaten economic stability and risk disrupting global trade, and the bloc is urging Washington to reverse course. Joining us with more is DW correspondent Chiponda Shimbelu in Berlin. Hi Chiponda, what more can you tell us about the response to those tariffs in Europe?
Thanks for having me. Well, here in Europe, there's concern about supply chains and global trade. And the European Commission said that the tariffs on Canada and Mexico, which took effect this week, threaten supply chains, investment flows, and economic stability. Now, both Canada and Mexico are economic partners of the EU. And last month, the bloc announced that it would strengthen trade relations with Mexico, where European manufacturers, especially car makers, have production facilities. Now, while the current tariffs, of course, target the US's neighbors, they are also hurting European companies. And tariffs could cost the industry, the auto industry especially, alone billions. Sometimes car parts travel across the US-Mexico border several times during production. But of course, there's also something else that Brussels is looking with concern to, and that is Trump's 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum exports to the United States. Now, those are scheduled to take effect on March 12, and they will affect European exporters. Brussels is, of course, planning a response.
Okay, and how prepared is the EU to respond?
Well, before I get into that, it is worth noting that the EU, for the EU, actually, the US is the leading destination for exports, and the United States is the second biggest source of imports to the European Union. So there is a lot of harm that both economies can do to each other with tariffs. And that is why we've seen European policymakers stress that point and focus on potential negotiations. But that is, of course, something that could be changing. There is that disastrous exchange between US President Trump and Ukraine's President Zelenskyy in the Oval Office last Friday. And, of course, the White House's announcement this week that it would pose all military aid to Ukraine. Now, if Washington piles more pressure on the bloc with tariffs, we could very well see the EU deploy its anti-coercion instrument. Now, that is, of course, a tool with a so-called trade bazooka that would have a wide range of retaliatory measures. And those include quotas, tariffs, and foreign investment restrictions. And it was created after the first Trump administration, but it has never been used.
Chiponda, and what about Europe's economy? How resilient can we expect it to be?
The EU economy has been sluggish, and Germany, which is Europe's biggest economy, is in recession. The prospect of a trade war with the United States could potentially hurt the bloc's economy even more. And of course, there are many factors to explain that. The EU was more affected by the fallout from the war in Ukraine. That led to higher energy prices, and it also affected investment on the continent. And of course, the continent's aging population is another challenge. Now, more than 1 in 5 Europeans are aged 65 and over, and that means that the continent will increasingly have fewer workers. The latest data on the number of hours worked here in Germany fell for the first time last year since the COVID-19 pandemic. And it is a sign that Europe's industrial powerhouse will struggle to raise its productivity levels. And of course, whether policymakers can come up with adequate responses is something that, of course, will remain to be seen.
All right, Chiponda, we leave it there. Thank you so much. Time now for sport updates. And Australia's star batter, Steve Smith, has announced his retirement from one-day internationals on Wednesday. The middle-order batter's final appearance in ODIs came in the Champions Trophy semi-final against India in Dubai, in which he top-scored for Australia with 73. in a losing cause. The 35-year-old batter featured in 170 ODIs, scoring 5,800 runs at an average of 43.28 and a strike rate of 86.96. He has 12 centuries and 35 half-centuries to his name. He finished his career as the 12th highest run getter for Australia in ODIs. He registered his highest score of 164 against New Zealand in 2016. Having made his debut as a leg-spinning all-rounder, he also picked 28 wickets and took 90 catches. New Zealand won the toss and chose to bat first in second semi-final of the ICC Champions Trophy in Lahore. New Zealand convincingly won their first two games of a one-day tournament in Pakistan, then lost to India in Dubai and have now flown back to Pakistan again for the encounter. On the other hand, South Africa are also a strong force, beating Afghanistan and England to top their group. In ICC event knockout, South Africa and New Zealand have seldom crossed paths, with two teams meeting each other just twice in these stages back in 2011 ODI World Cup and then 2015 ODI World Cup. Both these matches were won by Kiwis. The winner of this match will meet India in the final at Dubai on Sunday. And updating you about the score, New Zealand are 23 without loss. Let's see what happens. Who will meet India in the final of the Champions Trophy 2025? And India stormed into the final of the ICC Champions Trophy 2025, defeating Australia by 4 wickets on Tuesday. Virat Kohli played a magnificent knock to guide India to the victory. Take a look.
For the longest time, the knockout stages of an ICC event were Australia's domain. But on Tuesday, India proved that it will change now only in a matter of time. The men in blue played Australia in a rematch of the 2023 ODI World Cup, only with a different result this time, defeating the Aussies by 4 wickets in the first semi-final of the ICC Champions Trophy 2025. It was a moment of pure raw emotions for Indian cricket team and for star batsman Virat Kohli, as for the second time in 10 days, he has lived up to his reputation as a chase master in ODIs. Kohli fell for 84 runs, but not before he took his team closer to victory. Virat Kohli and Shreyas Iyer added over 90 runs in the chase after both the openers were dismissed below 50 runs. KL Rahul and Hardik Pandya also chipped in with 42 and 28 runs. India's bowling attack was as delightful as the chase. Mohammad Shami squared up head on the very first legitimate ball of the match. However, it was Varun Chakravarti who later dismissed Travis Head with the first ball he has ever bowled to him at any level of cricket. Indian bowlers restricted Australia to 264 runs with 3 balls still to go. It was a huge moment of joy for the cricket fans present at the Dubai International Cricket Stadium, who now eagerly look forward to the men in blue in finals.
Pretty awesome. Our team played well as expected, and Australia is always a tough opponent, so it was super duper cool. And yeah, we're looking forward to the finals, and we will be there in the stadium to cheer our team.
It was a great match, and we are going to finals, and we are going to win it this time. India! 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 We saw a great game. Australia and Travis Head was level-headed, but finally we kicked them out. Now it's going to be, whether it's New Zealand or South Africa, we are going to crush them. And the Champions Trophy is going to be ours.
India will face the winner of the second semi-final between South Africa and New Zealand as both teams face each other on Wednesday. Sports Desk, DD India.
Real Madrid claimed a small edge on Atletico Madrid with a tight 2-1 win in the first leg of UEFA Champions League 2024-25 last 16. Julian Alvarez leveled for Atletico after Rodrigo Goes sent the hosts ahead, but Brahim Diaz stoked home the winner for a record 15th time to much delight of team. Diego Simeone's Atletico kept stars Vinicius Jr. and Kylian Mbappe quiet but still came up short. Meanwhile, Madrid coach Carlo Ancelotti opted for Morocco international Diaz in midfield to replace the suspended Jude Bellingham. Atletico will host Real Madrid next week at the Metropolitano Stadium. The winner of the match will face Arsenal or PSV Eindhoven in the quarterfinals. A fired-up Arsenal thrashed PSV and they won 7-1 in the first leg of their Champions League last 16 tie. Arsenal rattled in 3 goals in 13-minute spell in the first half and then ruthlessly added 4 more after the break. Jurriën Timber opened the scoring in the 18th minute, followed by a strike from teenager Ethan Nwaneri before Mikel Merino added the third. Arsenal registered the biggest away win in European club competition and put themselves in a virtually unassailable position to advance to the quarterfinals, where they will meet either Atletico Madrid or Real Madrid. LeBron James became the first player in NBA history to score 50,000 career points on Tuesday. James extended his lead as the league's all-time record scorer by reaching a milestone tally that may never be surpassed. James entered the contest with 49,999 points and drained a shot from deep to add another landmark moment. The 40-year-old has most regular season points after breaking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's all-time scoring record in February 2023. Dressed in dazzling costumes and floats, participants added charm and entertainment to the 5th day of the Rio de Janeiro's Carnival, Brazil's biggest festival of the year. The Carnival will officially conclude on March 8 with the victorious Samba schools parading through the Samba Dome once more. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.